Proposition Joe to be a hoe.
A host.
Oh man,
On a hoe school conference.
Whenever I
And
hear
we're live
yellow,
now.
whenever I hear Yellow Snow, it makes me think of a song that my dad had the album of. Watch out where the Huskies go and don't you eat that yellow snow. It's just called "Don't You Eat That Yellow Snow" by Frank Zappa.
Oh, it's a Zappa song. Okay, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like me. It's like, is this like the Gaithers?
Yeah, the Gaithers. Yep.
Donnie and Marie Osmond. Is that who sang that for you?
Little known fact: Mark Lowry wrote that song.
I love when we get these obscure jokes and we can get it.
Yep.
We can get it.
Hey, look.
That's a good joke. That's a good joke.
A little unknown fact. I'm a big Gaither vocal band fan.
That makes sense. That makes sense because of vocals and the how you harmonize stuff.
Should have called in sick.
I did not know that was a button. I'm like, wait, his mouth isn't moving. That was a perfectly timed joke. I don't understand. Oh my goodness.
Get ready to laugh out loud with Wise and Nerdy, the show hosted by two hilarious dads who are bringing the unique blend of wit, wisdom, and nerdiness to the airwaves. From sharing hilarious anecdotes about their own experiences to giving advice on navigating the ups and downs of life, these two dads have got you covered. But that's not all. They're also obsessed with all things nerdy, from comic books and sci-fi movies to video and board games. So whether you're a fellow dad, a pop culture fanatic, or just in need of a good laugh, tune in to Wise and Nerdy and join in the fun.
Oh, yeah, man. It is back in action tonight. We are ready to go. This is Wise and Nerdy, where fatherhood meets fandom. And I've got Joe, Embrace the Alpha Male art on. Via by Kurt's Fatty Daddy. This tag is a lie. Of course, I'm here to help everybody be awesome. I am Rock Out of Podcasting, Charles McFall, and we're here to be your daddies.
Wow.
oh, you were Mr. Button hungry. That's why I removed him from the show. I was like, no, I'd like to get through an intro without a bunch of muffled in the background. Thank you. But no buttons now.
I got no buttons.
You've got to get some buttons,
Grandpappy
Kurt.
said he was ashamed of me.
Now this is what I've dreamed of for a very long time. And Joe's finally made that come true. The first stage of the dream is fun random lines from shows that we've been on and just use them out of context and don't waste them all. But it sounds like you got a nice little stockpile. And let me tell you, there's some good jokes told on the Patreon before show episode today. It was the pre-barbecue, if you will. We're just kind of standing around, getting the thing ready, telling the stories. Kurt had some great jokes. We all talked about yellow snow. It was fun times. You should check it out. Patreon.com/wise_n_nerdy and check us out. All right, boys. We are up to a new question. Joe said something about his wife. I thought this would be the greatest question you could ever have. What's one choice you really regret?
Ooh, it's definitely not marrying my wife if that's what you're trying to imply.
Why would you even say that, Joe Kelsey?
That's my best choice ever.
Kelsey, that is nobody said that. Joe said that. Why would Joe? What, Joe? Why would you say that?
Because of how you led into this, of course. It was you.
Yeah, it was all me.
All you.
All me.
Yeah, you're not living up to your tag tonight.
I thought, if anything, it'd be, I regret the 500 women I ever saw before I met my wife.
My wife.
So, how about a real one? How about a real choice you regret besides hosting a show with me?
Why'd you gotta ruin mine like that?
Because I can read you like a book.
Oh, do you have one, Kurt?
Yes, I do. And while you're thinking about your wife,
your wife,
this is weird, but I regret not following through with my plans to be a music teacher or a music major in college. Now,
That's
the
actually
hard-
come up a lot for you this year.
well, it's because I don't have many regrets, because I always have to balance it with, if I were to do that, would I have had the kids that I have? Would I have had the career that I've had, like in terms of financially? Almost certainly not, because music teachers get paid nothing. But it was a passion. It was a passion of mine. So that, and I even toyed with the idea of going back to school to get my degree at one point, but now I'm too old for it. Like it's just like, I can't even, the idea of student teaching gives me hives.
But what about independent teaching? I know crazy ideas are crazy ideas, but I just had this image of Kurt putting together the Dragon Con choir kids, and you'd meet over Zoom throughout the year, and then one panel is a little choir performance set. All these awesome digital media creators came together, and you taught them how to put together this awesome little show.
Like I don't know, a parody song called "We Are the Nerds."
Yeah!
So anyhow,
That sounds like a real thing, though.
Except I don't think it is. But regardless, so see, here's the other part of that, right? Yes, I have a regret for not being able to do that, because I think I could have impacted students' lives in a positive manner. That being said, nowadays, I actually get some of what I believe I would have missed, because I coach musical groups. I teach some vocal lessons on occasion with people in the musical groups that I'm in, like in that community. So I get the teacher aspect of that. That fulfills me, and so
Sure.
I get that aspect of it. But I always, and again, for me, it's because my music teacher in high school had such a massive, profound impact on my life that if I could provide that for one person, that would be amazing.
What if, just like you did the fit guy stuff? No, I would say once a week. What if you just do a basic vocal coaching on TikTok to your audience?
So here's the thing. I could, but man, I've seen so many people who do it way better than I could ever do it. Like they're just awesome. Like
Nobody's Kurt.
Hey, look.
I would let you be my vocal coach. I'd try for a solo in We Are the Nerds. Come on, I'd take it any day, Kurt.
Here's the thing.
Don't cut that out, Joe.
Here's the thing. The We Are the Nerd parody thing has some legs, and I'm just coming up with it now. So it's not a 2024 thing.
No, right.
But 2025, maybe. You never know.
Maybe. I'm serious. I would make some time to be a part of that if I could. I mean, I think
you wouldn't have a choice.
Oh, good. I maybe we should change this to have we ever sang, because obviously Kurt has. I used to sing all the time in choirs, and I did okay with things, but I could definitely use some coaching, because like I go to karaoke, like I think I got this song, and then I don't have the song. Not quite. I mean, karaoke okay, but it's not like have it.
So funnily enough, next year, 2025, is the 40th anniversary of We Are the World.
Well, look at this synchronicity going on here.
Yeah.
All right. And by that time we'll be super famous and people will steal ideas. At this point, we're still up and comers. Nobody's gonna steal the idea, so we're good.
Yeah.
Because random kid will just visit them and punch them. I'll say he says no regrets, which honestly I've talked about intentionally getting that tattoo on my body. Just because one, I think it's hilarious. But two, that's how I think about it. It's like most of what I've gone through has led to me learning the lessons to make me who I am today, to help me get to the next level. Am I apologetic for some of the negative things that came out of bad decisions? Yes. Do I regret them? I have a very hard time saying that, but there's one definitive decision that I do regret, and that's choosing my wife over my son when I needed to choose him. Because there was this, without going into a super long story, there was this moment in 9th, 10th grade for him, 11th ish, somewhere, that basically he'd come back from high school and was going to be doing homeschool. And he didn't kind of want to, but he kind of did. But I told him this is how it's going to go. And she had been doing homeschool. And then there was this thing where basically she gave up. I don't know why, it just became a thing. This is the one thing I can say I'm a single parent in, because I handle all of the schooling for the kids, period. And I don't remember what happened, why she gave up, and she got mad at me. But I was coming home stressed from work, and then the kids aren't doing their 1 hour or 2 hours of school, and I'm mad. And then she basically, especially because it was him, she would jump right in the middle and fight. And it got to a point where I said, you know what? Fine. You do whatever you do, dude. I don't care anymore. I've told you how to finish. All you got to do is finish this out. And I just can't fight you and her. I regret that decision. I would honestly, looking back, because I don't think I would have lost my marriage. I don't think it would have been that. It might have put us in a better place even than we are today. But I should have said, I do not care about you right now. I fully, to my core, believe that we are failing this boy as parents. And if you are going to take your hands off and throw them up and not do jack crap with school, then you can shut up. And I would just take him outside and never talk to him in front of her and just drill him in, like, you will finish this. I don't care if you go to college. I never have, but you will finish. And he dropped out of school. And he's doing okay. We had a great talk tonight. He's very mature as far as handling his life, and he's doing better than I was at his age as far as that maturity, health, emotional, mental, physical health, all that. But that, because it was my decision, and I truly, no, he's not going to, not anywhere near future. Random kid asked if he's going to get his GED. No plans for it right now. And it was about me making a decision to say, I'm just tired of the fights, versus I believe in what is right and it's worth fighting for. And I believe I taught him to give up a little bit, that it's okay, which now he's got his own decisions to make. But that one, I fully regret that one. If I could change it, I would. Joe?
Well, I was just going to comment about the GED thing. My sister, she dropped out of high school because she got pregnant. She got her GED, and she's actually just about to get her bachelor's. So she's doing pretty good.
And he's got a job that he likes. He works with his hands. He works at an oil change place. He can do some basic mechanic work. Nothing fancy. He could get his GED and go to mechanic school if he really wants to. I mean, there's definitely paths. You can always get your GED. And that's why I didn't really go the extreme routes with him. It's like, look, I know it's not the end of the world, but for me, I know it's deeper. But I realized at the time, by the time he made that decision, there was no going back. It was still from my decision not to fight. So I'd rather sacrifice my marriage to make sure you were taken care of in life, which wouldn't have happened, but felt like the choice, than say, fine, just give up. Everybody do. It just, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, he's fine. I'm not worried about him. It really was a moment in my life that I really regret for myself. But
how long ago was that?
He's 19 now, about a year and a half ago, 2 years.
Okay.
Because his sister's, it's a mess with her school. She's basically going in her senior year. So yeah, it'd have been about two years ago ish. I mean, and he was 2 months away. 2 months away. All he had to do is finish up that much work and graduate. And yeah.
I wonder if he'll regret that later down in life.
Maybe it's last spring. Maybe, yeah, a year ago, basically. But yeah, I don't want him. So that's the other thing. That is the other. I do not want him to regret it. I want him to learn from it and go, okay, I made the decision then. I can make this decision now, whatever that is. And finally, because it is a different world. Even when I grew up, my mom was like, you got to have a high school diploma or nobody will hire you. And that was the world she grew up in. The world I grew up in went, hey, we'll start you at the bottom. Now I had a high school diploma. I didn't finish college till years later. I got an associate's or whatever, which never did me any good except for whatever. But I could start at the bottom somewhere, but I can learn stuff. And that was the world I grew up in. The world now is more of an entrepreneur mindset, even at jobs. That's why people don't like working at McDonald's when they're young, because it's not slave labor, but it's very rigid, very unfun labor. right?
Yeah.
Whereas being creative, thinking, adding to the conversation, that is the generation that's coming up today that I
Well,
see.
And I think the biggest impact will be
Pop's got something to say.
getting in the door to get that first bit of experience is where it'll hurt the most, because a lot of people, they'll see the work experience and they'll be like, okay, that's great, but you got to get that work experience first in order to have other doors open to you.
Gonna go into tech unless he does tech schools, but like he was already working at this oil change shop, and to be real, the guy who runs it is very what you'd expect of a guy who owns and runs an oil change shop. You know, built this on the back of blah blah blah. You know, doesn't care about high school, so he didn't. He's like, oh cool, I can put you to work more hours, and because my son is smart, him quitting had nothing to do with his smartness. It had everything to do with bad decisions. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, right now he's limited. Like if he decided he wanted to go into medicine because it pays more, he can't. He'd have to get his GED, and then, but once you get your GED, which is also kind of dumb, but once you get your GED, you can go right into EMT school. You can go into a lot of tech school classes. You know, you're not going to go to Harvard probably unless you really do something crazy. But yeah,
I had a woman that I used to work with. She was an application developer just like me, but her degree was in library science. And so like I said, once you get your foot in the door, you can open up a lot of opportunities, but you know,
the difference with a programming type situation is you can show that you know what you're doing.
Yep.
Right. It's easier to show that you know what you're doing. So and the thing about your kid and the GED thing, honestly, when you said he's not going for his GED now, I don't care. Like that doesn't bother me, and it doesn't bother me from getting your foot in the door end of things too, because if that at some point becomes important for him, he's still young enough to do that. Sure. Right? He's young enough to get his GED. He's young enough to enter a new workforce. Look, I don't know if you guys have done this yet, but most people have a career until they switch careers.
Yeah, I've had
right. I was in the video game industry for 20 years, and now I'm not, and I'm in a different career path. And that happened when I was 35 is when I changed my career path. So you don't have to keep a job for life. Like you don't have to keep a career.
I don't know that you can keep a career or a job for life very much anymore.
Well, some people can, but the other thing
difficult.
And nowadays there's not a lot of incentive to do that either. Like before, you used to be able to build up a pension and build up like all this great things with the companies. Companies don't treat you like a person anymore. They treat you.
The world doesn't work that way anymore.
They don't. The world does not work that way.
All right,
which is a shame in my opinion.
All right, I'm older than both of you, right? Do you know how many companies I've worked for that offered a pension?
A lot, probably.
One.
Pension versus 401k.
That's different. Pension.
Okay. I'm making
pension,
sure.
Pension is a company benefit.
They pay you.
They pay you.
Gotcha.
401k has been around, and IRAs have been around forever. Like it's just that's. Sure. And you can make the choice. I've basically taught both of my kids get in as soon as you humanly possibly can.
Yeah.
And if the company matches your money at all, at least put it
max
in that
out.
At least max that out.
Yep.
And so both of them have done that. And so that's great. And then I say, and forget it exists. Like just don't even think about it. So
maybe check in on it once a year or something like that if you're curious, but don't
worry about it.
Don't worry. Yeah.
Well, because honestly, those things, if you leave them alone, historically have been shown to grow.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what it is. So if you leave them alone, they'll be fine. But Charles, you said something that is what triggered my facial tick, and that was kids don't want to work at McDonald's or whatever because it's not fun, and the creatives and whatnot. This is where I sound like a really old man.
All right, I'm off the porch. Go ahead.
I don't care if it's fun.
Yeah.
In order to get the fun stuff, you have to pay your dues. And paying your dues means having crappy jobs for a while until you get to a point where you don't have to have a crappy job.
I wish that everyone did some kind of a service job at some point in their life, either waiting tables, janitorial, anything where you've got to deal with people. Because I think it makes you appreciate the good people in your life that much more.
Yeah, I would say retail is similar. It's not the same as service.
It's
not,
similar. You're not wrong.
But okay, all right, grumpy pusses. Listen, it's not about. I don't mean that McDonald's serving at that level is not fun. It's
not fun.
The engagement. I mean, I can make anything fun. I've tried to
there are fun moments. There are fun moments, but the jobs stink.
Look, I loved working at Chick-fil-A, which is fast food. There are certain people that it is how you look at it. I mean, there's some look. I do not want to be a trash guy. I think the trash men, I say thank you for your service and salute them as they go by, because I don't want to, there's no way I want to do that, but there's other things that you can do to have fun at a job. And I've enjoyed pretty much every job I've had, but the engagement, how the people treat you, when you get, it's, and Joe, you're talking about how companies, and I get it. Everybody, it's not, you're wrong about that opinion. It's like everybody has their opinion, but I think the world has had a very bad idea of what business is, and it is a meeting in the middle. It's, I don't need you to pay me a pension. You don't owe me anything. I don't owe you anything. We came together and it's almost a bartering system. You bartered and said you'd pay me this much money to bring you this much work. Yep. And that's how, and if you look at it like that, it's like, hey, I'm here to do me and you can have fun. And I think there's more of a connection with, in my experience with the kids, they're not kids, but they're older Gen Zs coming into EMT school. My kids are getting older and I see them in the workforce. Yeah. Oakland had a great job, man. Zaxby's, let me tell you, great company. And y'all might not know what I think, Joe, but Kurt, you might not know what Zaxby's is.
It's a chicken place. Come on.
I didn't know how wide they went. I didn't know if they were like.
I have been to the South.
No, that's true. I forget. Yeah. But their orientation, like you go to an office building and they have a whole orientation class and they give you pants, shoes, your uniform shirt, hat, and you don't give the shoes or pants back. They're like, those are yours. And he was his first job ever. He's making 12 something an hour, and he's 16, right? So they are definitely, okay, you're gonna work the line, and he's making mistakes, and they treated him right, but they put him to wash dishes a number of times. Now, here's the dumb thing that I got on him for was he quit over that. Basically, I said, "You love your music, right?" Because that was the one really hated about Zaxby's. You cannot wear your AirPods. Except when you wash dishes, they don't care. If you're back on dish duty, you can have your AirPods. I'm like, you complain so much about not getting to have your music, and then they put you in the one place you can have your music. And then I did say that, Kurt. I said, you don't get to be the fun, fancy jobs. You have to earn it. You do have to earn it. You have to show, I'm going to be the best dishwasher, because the best dishwasher will be the best chicken plate maker, which will be the best assistant manager, so on and so forth. And you didn't like it because they told you were doing the job wrong and they made you wash dishes in the place that's where you get to listen to your music. And so, yeah, I agree with you a little bit, Kurt, but also I want to stay on this lawn a little bit. I want to stay on this lawn. Yeah. Random kid. Hey, why random kid says that?
Roll that dice.
I never said my biggest regret.
I thought you didn't you?
No.
Did you?
No, I sure didn't.
His biggest regret was this particular
roll
subject.
That dice.
My biggest regret was asking my mom if she could go back in time and do one thing. What would she do?
Oh no!
So I was expecting.
Was it not have you?
I was expecting something like, go back and invest in Amazon or, something like that a lot of people would say. It was, she would go back and not marry my dad. So not only me, but all my siblings are gone. I was like, oh, this got awkward real fast.
Real real fast.
Real fast.
And then did you whip out a picture and your siblings started to disappear?
Wow, yeah, that's yeah.
Oh.
Look, man, while you roll the dice, yeah, my mother-in-law, when she was in her last days, well, really last months, whatever, she got that kind of senility that makes you be honest, and she talked about regretting having kids to their faces. Just a lot of ugliness. And to Random Kid's point, I loved used to when we were first 5-6 years I was married, I'd make the joke that man, you got to get married. A clean clothes fairy shows up, a clean dishes fairy shows up, a vacuuming. It's magic. There's magic fairies just all over the place. And my wife ultimately laughed at that. But yeah, the other
ultimately,
one, yeah,
it took
but
her
now
a few
before,
years.
before I got married, one of my favorite jokes was, what do you do when a dishwasher breaks? You get a divorce.
Marry a new one.
Yeah. So, but young and dumb. Joe, what's the category?
What are you nerding out about now?
Wow, jumping right in. There's going to be a slight parental advisory, but it is news. It is news. I'll let Joe decide what the advisory is. But first, the Weakest Tamer Began a journey to pick up trash has to be an anime that Joe picked.
It sure is.
Because it's the longest title on this list.
So I've already watched the whole thing, but I started watching it with my boys recently.
How'd you watch the whole thing? I couldn't make it through the title.
I mean, that's half of anime's titles are super long.
I know.
Like I've said before, it's basically an advertisement for what it's about is the title of them. But it's about this little girl who lives in a world where when you turn like 5 or 6, you're given a blessing from the gods and you get abilities, and how strong the ability is determined by how many stars are associated with that ability. So if you've got like a 4-star martial arts, you're doing real good, but if it's a 1-star, you're just okay. And so when her time comes around, she gets 0 stars and a taming ability, and that's it. And so the village decides that she is a curse and she needs to go, like full on go. Like even her parents are in on it. And so the village head basically puts a hit out on her. And so she's, a 6-year-old that is now on the run for her life. And the first thing she does is she goes to the dump heap to see if there's anything useful. So that's why the name of the title is The Weakest Tamer Began a Journey to Pick Up Trash. Because she goes to multiple trash sites along the way to scavenge.
That was the name of his wife's diary when she's a teenager. And then she found Joe.
I'm the trash? What?
Not funny enough. I'll turn up the funny. I'll catch up with Pop here. Don't worry about it. I keep trying. It's super wholesome. It ends up being a super wholesome anime, and I really liked it. And my boys so far are liking it as well. So yeah, I like it quite a bit.
They could have just called it Dump Run.
But yeah, even though my joke didn't land, Kurt, it was still shorter than the title of that show.
Like everything we've said tonight is shorter than the title of that show.
Yeah. We are recording wise, we're almost an hour in, and it's still shorter. So Kurt, I imagine.
Yeah.
It's all you.
Oh man. Just X-Men 97 had the third to the last episode. And how do I know that? Because it's a 3-part finale. And man, it's
also
so good.
Episode 8.
Yeah, it's episode 8. It's so good. It's so good. They did exactly what I wanted, which was take the sensibilities from the old X-Men cartoon and put way better writing to it. And they just did. And so they're even making corrections like it's a little spoilery, but I don't care because it's our show. They revealed that Emma, the White Queen, Emma Frost, has the diamond ability because in the comics she can have her body be comprised of diamond and be as tough as a diamond, or be telekinetic. She can't do, or telepathic. She can't do both at the same time. But
she did in the movie, didn't she?
Yeah, but that's not really canon.
Yeah,
I mean, you're not wrong, but
yeah, but the movies took liberties. Let's just say that the movies took liberties.
But the animation never had her be Diamond.
Right, the animation never had her be Diamond, but they,
Right.
in order to bring her up to the comic area, they did that. And so they've been making those little corrections here and there throughout the whole thing. It's been brilliant. And there's been real death in this.
I know.
There's been presumed death, but people haven't died. And so they're just bringing it all. And the end of this episode had an iconic line said by an iconic person, and it just made you go.
You're not.
Yes.
You're not referring to. I hope you're not referring to.
That was the first episode.
The car. No.
To
the family in the car. And Scott Summers.
No.
Okay, good. I know what you're referring to now.
No.
Because here's what I love about X-Men 97. It makes me right, because I've said all along Summers is a bleep face and he is a bleep head. And people love to argue with me. People even love to buy me little figurines of Scott because I hate him so much. And he is just doubling down every episode on how much of a D-bag he is.
So here's the cool thing. Here's the cool thing about the whole Scott Summers, Jean Grey, Madeline Pryor thing. In the original cartoon, it got really confusing.
Yeah.
Like, because Madeline Pryor was sort of a clone of Jean Grey. Right. And it was all really confusing. Even in the comics, they like substituted Madeline Pryor or Jean Grey for Madeline Pryor during the Phoenix thing, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. But in the cartoon, it was really confusing. And we find out that not only is it not confusing anymore, it's really straightforward. They're dealing with the real fallout of the realization.
That is really good.
And they revealed that they let everybody know during the original X-Men animation that about who was who and what was what. And we didn't pick up on it ever.
We never saw it. Right.
And the original writer from back then said, yeah, that was the intent the whole time.
Yeah.
And if you go back and rewatch it, you'll know.
It was deep then. We just weren't prepared to go that deep at that era.
It was, but it was still very much
90s.
We're selling toys.
Yeah.
You know, it was still very much in that. I mean, honestly, I think that they took their cues, and I've said this before, from the Justice League and cartoons and the Batman the Animated Series cartoons, because they had way more mature writing, and now we get that for our X-Men cartoon. And they're putting cameos of other superheroes in it, and it's awesome.
Yes, I saw that. I was very happy with that, this last one. But yeah, no, my friend who also watches this, he texted me. I forgot it was Wednesday night last night. So he texted me like, he gave me the quote from, you don't screw with the Summers family. I'm like, and then when they delivered the lines, like, oh, you're a little less of a friend of mine now. I think it's like, that's not the best line of this show. But I mean, that's like the worst line of this show. But yeah, I know the iconic one.
Yeah.
It was interesting. It was interesting. Okay, how much did you pay attention to? They did the little 90s glamour shot montage of heads turning. Did you? Okay, so I think the first one was Beast. I forget the second one was, but the second person was almost like that. I think they did it on purpose. Like Beast turned, and then you see the face of whoever, and they were like, and this is in real time. Slow click, and they clicked in, and then the next one turned on time, and I was like, I think they did that on purpose to mess with the 90s stuff when 90s teams did that.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they did that. Yeah. But there's just been so many little Easter eggy things. And
I hope death is not as serious as they're making it, because I'm not going to talk about it, but and then godlike powers, man, they are really differentiating the tiers of lower level mutants, mid-level mutants, and god level mutants, and they are not playing. Rogue really has come out god level, as has somebody else that we won't talk about there, but so good. All right, here's your little disclaimer. This is actual news in the real world from our government about the Lord's lettuce. But if you're against it, you may want to skip forward about 3 hours because I get wordy. But no, it's so today they announced, I've been following the news on this. The DEA for months now has been talking about trying to deregulate cannabis and declassify it. Class 1 drugs, stuff like you would expect, opioids, right? Because you can overdose, they can kill you real fast. Meth, heroin, stuff like that. Yeah, all this stuff, real bad stuff that everybody knows. Man, you get too much of that too fast, you're dead. Or if you get even if you do it over time, you're still dead because it ruins your body. And weed, cannabis is a tier 1. And this is a fact. You can look it up on the internet. DuPont, back in the early days of America, who grew cotton, didn't want to compete with hemp. So he used his money and influence to get the government to ban hemp or ban cannabis because, yes, it can get you high. And so that's a bad thing. And he got it banned so that hemp couldn't be grown and compete with his cotton. All right, so that's where that came from. And it's going up and down, back and forth, all this stuff. But it's still not. Everybody with a rational mind can say it's not the same as all those other drugs that are tier 1. So the DEA has officially announced, I'm not sure when it takes effect, but they're going to declassify it down to level 3. Now, level 4 is stuff like aspirin and Tylenol, OTC, right, over the counter. Level 3 is kind of stuff like you need a pharmacist, but you don't necessarily need a script. It's stuff like a Sudafed and or low level scripts like Adderall or things that are not like that bad, right? Asthma inhalers, where you do have to have a script, but it's not huge, right? So it's going down to level 3. But I don't take sides in politics. I don't care about politics, but I'm very curious to see if this comes out. Chuck Schumer and a couple other leaders in Congress have come together and today announced the Cannabis Administration Opportunity Act, which will end federal cannabis prohibition. They are trying to get it off of the controlled substance list, period. And they're talking about this act is not just going to do that. It's going to decriminalize everything, meaning it's going to wipe the records clean of everybody who went to jail or prison only on cannabis charges.
Are they going to release them?
They're going to release them. They're going to wipe the records clean across the board, because he goes on to say about how this level of prosecution has led to good people not being able to get jobs. It haunts them for the rest of their life. Did not get jobs. They talked about a little bit of the health aspects, but they're really focused on, cleaning up people's lives so they can get jobs, this and that and the other. And they admitted that it's time to end the war on drugs, because the war on drugs is not about cocaine.
Right.
It's about weed. It's about cannabis, and always has been. And it says it's time to end the war on drugs because it has done this harm. And then they ended with, and it's mostly been a war on Americans of color. And I don't know the rest of your politics, Chuck Schumer. You could be the worst human in the world, but I'm glad somebody stood up and admitted that history about all of this. So that's what I'm nerding out about. And I know people can disagree, and that's okay, but I'm happy today.
So I actually looked it up while you were talking. The actual definition of a class 3 or a schedule 3 classification for drugs is drugs with low to moderate potential for abuse and or addiction, but less dangerous than schedule 1 or 2. Duh.
There you go.
These drugs can be obtained through a prescription, but generally are not available over the counter. So that's okay, because for the places where marijuana is legal, there's recreational as well.
Well, if you add this, basically they're saying, no, this is no worse than alcohol. No more controlled substance list. Then it becomes cigarettes versus a prescription.
Right.
But
so what they do have, they have schedule 3 drugs, and they give a few examples. Suboxone, ketamine, and anabolic steroids are schedule 3. When misused, they can be addictive, but they're less dangerous than the other ones. And the other ones are things like methadone, Demerol, Vicodin, OxyContin, fentanyl, morphine, codeine, heavy duties.
Yeah, and Suboxone, I have a person working for me who takes it. She comes in every 2 weeks with a drug test, and Suboxone is for heroin addicts. And unfortunately, when she was young, she had a heroin issue, and And she's proven every 2 weeks that she is taking every step to keep that away. But so yeah.
So and for people
crazy.
who are wondering, well, what's the difference between 3 and 4? 4 includes Xanax, Soma, Klonopin, Valium, Ativan, and those are classified as Schedule 4 with a low probability for misuse and abuse. But they're definitely effective. Like if you've ever had Valium or Xanax or Klonopin, there's an effect there. But apparently the possibility for addiction is low on those.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. It's great. I mean, people do get addicted to Tylenol and Motrin, and that's just walk in, grab it on the shelf.
Oh,
and that's
nasal sprays.
Afrin, those kind of things.
And those things. Yep.
My dad used to take trips every, I don't know, 6 months or so up to Canada to get Tylenol with codeine.
A buddy of mine that was in a quartet of mine when we did shows in Canada would buy three bottles of Tylenol with codeine because they still have it.
Now there is a maximum amount you can bring back across the border, so before it considers drug trafficking.
Look, let's look to our cousins to the north, right? Canarnia. All right, so they have stuff. I mean, they have so many less restrictions on medications than we do. And arguably, their society is on par with ours, health-wise, societally, emotionally, together, if not a little bit better. I think we can learn a little bit more from them. I don't want everything they do. I know they're not perfect, but they're definitely not a third world country for sure.
I do know that the one thing that I'm getting out of this story, Charles, is that I did the right thing by continuing to invest in corporate cannabis.
Maybe so, sir. Maybe so. All right. The last thing I made Joe put it down. So Joe ordered some new monitors last week, and I think it was after the show. I was looking at the links with you, and they were no longer on sale because they had sold out. I think it sold out. So you got a really good sale. You don't have to talk about the money. I don't care about that, but talk about what you got. What were your monitors?
Yeah. I mean, they're not the craziest of crazies, but for the price point, they were very nice. So I got some Asus 27-inch 1440p gaming monitors, and it's a huge step up from my.
Your face is so much brighter right now. Actually, that's why I did the big screen on the screen.
Yeah, my old monitors, they were like 15 to 20 years old. They still had VGA hookups for them. They were old. I was actually using a DVI port to VGA adapters for them. The maximum that they could transmit at was 60 hertz, whereas these monitors
240, weren't they?
They're 240 unless you can actually go in and you can overclock the monitors themselves to get up to 260 hertz. Not that I want to overclock my monitors.
Yeah, I want to see this show at 240 hertz where our voices come out before the mouths move.
But yeah, super good. I got them at 43% off. Right now they're available again, but they're only 25% off right now. So
it's just $70 more expensive than you got them.
Yep.
So you were right place, right time, because you'd order them that morning of the show, or was it and so within less than 12 hours, because of course we like to geek out, and I was going to click on the link and go look at it. I was like, Joe, I don't even know how much you paid. They're not being sold. I was like, holy crap. It was like that fast. It's a good sale you got.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that you're super excited. What game are you going to try to push the limits of this monitor?
Minesweeper.
Oh, no, Minesweeper's better. Damn it.
No, I got to get back to Hogwarts Legacy. I think that would be a good one to play on this. I have to turn the graphics lower on it though, because my computer itself can't fully handle it.
I was about to say your next upgrade probably should be a video card to take full advantage of the great monitors you have.
Yeah. I mean, my computer now is sitting at 4 or 5 years old. So I need to start saving up to just overhaul the whole system. I did get the new or the extra RAM, so that's been helping quite a bit. But actually, maybe I need to try Hogwarts Legacy again and check to see if maybe the RAM was the limiter on that and not my graphics card. Could be. I didn't actually look at the stats with the task manager or anything like that. So that's actually a curious experiment to do.
I presume you've got SSDs.
Yeah. Well, I've got an SSD, and then I do have a hard drive as well. So it's a hybrid there, but yes, yeah. So anything that is bulk storage, I toss onto the hard drive because it's got more space.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Roll that dice.
Shut up, Mike.
I don't think that's what you meant to say, Charles. I think you meant to say
Roll the dice. Play that again. Roll the dice. I think that was doctored.
How'd you get that recording of Hugh at 2 a.m.?
It's personal story time.
Oh, wow. Man, holy crap. We've only made it through one segment. We're 45 minutes in. All right. Personal story time. Gentlemen, tell me a story, Daddy, of when you were the youngest person at your job.
I don't remember if I was the youngest person because at 9 years old, I didn't know to ask.
What job was that, Kurt?
Picking beans on the farm.
All
9
right.
cents a bushel. I mean, 9 cents a pound per bushel.
You did talk about it. Yeah, because we did the math on how much. Yeah. I know. All right. Joe, when were you the youngest at your job?
I mean, working at my first job at Burger King, I'm pretty sure I was the youngest. But I quickly became valued for my hard work. So there's that.
Oh, look at me. I'm Joe. I'm valuable as a young kid.
And then I was ended up being there so long that I had all of the prices after tax memorized. And so I didn't even have to be at the register to ring people up and give them their total.
He was there so long, he became known as the Burger Queen.
Nerds.
Well, and I've mentioned before that they were considering making me a manager, and then, well, I moved away. So,
is it BS? I'm pretty sure. He changes the facts of that story every time, Kurt. I'm pretty sure it's BS.
I'm pretty sure I've never changed that.
So,
Charles.
I memorized the text. Get out of here with that crap.
He was the best Whopper boy they ever had.
They retired his apron when he left. What hangs on the wall today?
What really confused people is when we put on our billboard that we were accepting McDonald's coupons.
Oh, I do remember that era. That was a great era.
And so, like, whatever the Big Mac coupon said, you got a Whopper for that price and stuff like that. It was, people were like, you're accepting McDonald's coupons? What? Yeah, sure are.
But man, Joe, after you take your kids to their temple visits, it must be nice to take them back to that hometown and go up to the counter and point to the back. You see that ragging on the wall, son? That was my apron. They remember me to this day. And you, son, can be just as good as me if you know how to convert from the Big Mac to the Whopper.
See that red stain on it? Love to say it was blood, but it was just ketchup. Just ketchup.
Stupid. Up until probably my mid-30s, I was almost always the youngest at my job. Maybe late 20s. I started working when I was 15 at a grocery store, and so I was the only 15-year-old working there. A lot of my jobs went that way. To the last one being, I became a paramedic when I was 18. I went to EMT school. It's about 20. I think I became a paramedic when I was 20. And no, 23.
This
I'm
sounds like
mixing
there's a
my
lot
years.
of holes in this. Just saying.
Look, go watch whatever we're calling the Dragon Con Twitch stream that we do on Wednesday nights on DC Digital Media on twitch.tv. Details are not my specialty. Entertainment specialty. We established a lot of that last night. Anyway, I was young when I became a paramedic, okay? And I, like you, Joe, I was good at my job. But as a paramedic, you're in charge of the scene. So I have 45 to 60-year-old firefighters who are chiefs on a scene looking at this little 23, 24-year-old snot-nosed brat trying to do medicine and tell everybody what to do. And it worked. But it was always, man, there's some pictures. There's a picture of me somewhere with a shaved head and a shaved face. So it is not a good picture. Now I can see Kurtz has a mission to find that picture somehow, some way. I don't think it exists on the internet, but
Yeah.
But even in my first command positions, I was younger than the people I was working with. The office I went to when I got out of the field, I was the youngest person there. And that was mid-30s. So it's weird. It's weird. And now my contemporaries who run companies like I do in EMS, I'm probably 15 years younger than they are for the most part. So it's just a odd thought. But now,
burdened by success, we get it. The Charles McFall
look.
story.
That's gonna be the name of my book. But all this gray hair comes from the crown, because heavy is the head that wears the crown that sits right there. It's proof I have a halo. Kurt, what's it like being the oldest person at your job?
I'm not.
I knew that was going to be the answer. I totally knew that was going to be the answer.
No, that being said, I am the third oldest at the job. But it doesn't matter because I'm in a leadership position. So when you're old and you're in charge, it's okay. When you're old and you're a minion, that's a problem. And it's only a problem. It's not a problem like, can you do the work or anything like that? It's a problem in that I believe that older people in the lower level jobs end up getting disrespected, and not valued for their experience by and large. Because look, with age does come some wisdom, whether people want to admit it or not. And it does a disservice if we don't respect at least that aspect of things. They may not be the most skilled at that job, but they have stuff to offer. So that's all. But I've been the younger guys. Like, again, I started my first computer career at 19. So I was a younger
but you
guy.
didn't tell that story. You talked about picking beans.
No, because I wasn't the youngest at the job. I wasn't
Even
the youngest at the job at 19. No, at 9, I think I was. but my computer job at 19, I don't believe I was.
That darn 3-year-old, he was doing such a better job than you at 9.
But he couldn't count like I could, so I stole his money.
Roll that dice.
You know, there's something to be said about wisdom comes with age, but when you're 80 and still having to run the register at McDonald's, I kind of question your judgment and life choices.
I don't know.
Stay tuned for this commercial break.
Heck yeah! But while I pull out that music, now Kurt, you're gonna cosplay as the McDonald's cashier this year.
No. I'm only doing one. I'm doing 2 cosplays. One of them is a surprise. The other one, everybody.
I know what the other one is. Yeah.
All
right, we're gonna take this break while you go to patreon.com/wise_and_nerdy and jump in the fam. Oh, I hate you so much. Oh, I don't even kid you. He just whispered. Rando Kid says, "Did you say jump in the van, fam?" I did, Random Kid, and I got you candy. Come to Dragon Con, pick it up, man. It'll be all right. Hey, while you're at it, call your daddy. wiseandnerdy.com/call dad. We'd love to hear from you and get your jokes in. I'll take your jokes. I'd rather have your stories. And my buddy Johnny had said he was going to send in some stories about me young, and he never did.
You just like delete the email.
I forget I can easily check that email now. Their Pokemon one was not easy. But what is the next category that we got coming up?
Can you dig it?
Your kids. Re-record the lines already. How do I get on to other shows? And I think that's something all of us have done, but it's not the easiest thing to do. And Kurt, you look ready just to jump right in.
First, change the channel. And that's what you're talking about, right? Just I mean, sure, if the batteries are out of the remote, it becomes a little bit more difficult.
I didn't walk into that one. I ran full speed and got clotheslined by that bad dad joke.
Actually, so in reality, Charles, do you have an opinion on this? Because I think you do, and I think your approach is probably different than mine.
Mine is go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's a question. I mean, I just was being polite to answer, but no, that's what
it was rhetorical. I didn't want to.
I got you. I didn't know what recorded was. Sorry.
I prefer to take the tact of doing good work so people seek you out.
Okay.
And so I'm not as aggressive, and I'm not saying aggressive as a pejorative term. I'm saying aggressive. I don't approach other shows saying, "Hey, do you need a guest?" I'm not that guy. I prefer to do the work, and then if somebody says, "Hey, I think you'd be good on this," cool, great.
And how well does that work out for you?
Pretty decently.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no number. If you're happy, you're happy.
No, it's fine. It's fine. And because, once you get on the show, other people hear you too. And, that kind of thing. It's a word of mouth thing more than anything else. So, that's why I'm probably doing, in fact, I am doing the Those Were the Days live at Dragon Con. That's Labor Day weekend, 2024. And I've done the Wait You Haven't Seen with Travis a couple of times.
Which I'm doing live at.
Yeah, you
Dragon
are. Which is awesome.
Weekend.
Yeah. And, and I've done Botched, and I've done, I did Adventure Inc., even though they're not doing it anymore. Probably because of what I did. But
it's all your fault.
It's all my fault. So yeah. That's my approach, but I know, Charles, you are a little bit more aggressive on it. And again, not a bad term.
Yeah, I am very more. Honestly, I've made my success. I just go, "Hey, can I come play?" And the people say yes. I go in. I caught that. But it is very much. But I have a different goal than you have. I literally want to make that my living of being interviewed, going on stages, giving speeches, being on panels, entertaining, hosting, those kind of things. But I agree with Joe. I mean, get in the digital media Discord, which I was actually about to get in there and type to remind people, hey, I'll be on any show that would like to have me. In the link trees right there, it's DC Digital Media Track. We'll have that and many other links for you. But yeah, I'm very much want to go find a need. So I am actually looking to pay for a podcast guest list for the year so that I can be featured, because I was kind of testing it out, looking at the types of shows that are looking for guests that way, just have a connection. And I saw some friends of mine pop up. I was like, oh, you guys are paying for it. So yeah, cool. That means that I'm not mistaken in going, if I want to get more like that, I need to do that. No, Kurt, that is not canon. Kurt put in, Charles will be on any show that will have him, and he's willing to pay up to $50 per appearance. No, I'm not asking for money, but I'm definitely not paying for it. But yeah, I'm more aggressive. I also think I'm more intimidating though. There's so many panels that I would love to be on a Dragon Con, but I'm not going to insert myself that way. You know, I need to be invited. It's almost vampiric that way, but it means that you actually wanted me to be a part of it versus me going, I think I'd be good inserting myself. Right.
Yeah, I will say the digital media track, Reddit, not Reddit, jeez, Discord is way different because we're actively looking for other panelists, right? And so saying that you have an interest in a panel that's happening, it's not like you're trolling podcasts generally and targeting them and saying, hey, can I be on your show? You know, it's different, right? The Dragon Con thing is a little different because it's set up to be that way.
Sure.
So
it is rare because the opportunity is rare to go, hey, oh, you do a show and you talk, oh, look, I would like to be on your show. But that's part of what I'm having to do to a more open audience is on this guest list. They're looking for guests and they're asking you to pitch. So that's a little more like the Dragon Con thing. But yeah, I do feel like our Dragon Con people are intimidated though, because I rarely, and I know the joke is easy, right? Well, they just don't want you. I mean, I think there are people who would say, oh, he'd be blast to have on, but maybe they think I'm too big or too busy, or they come up with reasons.
You are pretty tall.
Yeah. You know, well,
too
Travis, big. Yeah, Joe, stop. All right. I didn't know how long I was going to be able to do that, but I pulled it off. It's all right. But Travis's Wait You Haven't Seen, he put in, I need a guest. I'm looking for people to sign up. And I reached out to him. I think the message was DM. He asked us to DM on Discord or whatever. And so I slid into his DMs like, hey, man, I'd love to watch movies. And it was pretty much like, what? No, that'd be awesome. Cool. But it's very much, I never thought that you'd be available kind of response. So like, I can work a schedule out. I'm not the one trying to say I'm too big. I feel like people are going, yeah, he's too busy. I couldn't get him. And I've been on shows that had a zero audience, but we had fun talking to each other. Yeah. That's what I look. I mean, yeah, maybe at some point in my career, if some strangers like I was starting off and you only have like 20 listeners, I would like to think I'd have people that would find the right fit anyway. And I could go on to a show no matter how big I am. But there might be a time where it's like, well, right now my year's booked. So unless you're, 1 million followers or more, blah, blah, or can pay my fee. But I would love to try to think my goal is to be able to reach the old me and go, yeah, let's talk. Like Dan Carlin did for me. I don't know how many people are familiar with Dan Carlin, but he came on 3 times onto my show as he was an up and comer podcast. I mean, he was a LA Times, I think it's LA Times, LA Sun, LA, whatever the big paper is in LA. He was a writer for that. He became famous for being a historian. Then he really got into podcasting early on and did Common Sense, which is about politics, and Hardcore History, which is what it sounds like. It's like 3 hours on a historical topic. And he's so good. And I just reached out to him. And he gave me not just the time of day, but really hit me at 3 big moments in my early career in podcasting and just had my back. And it was great. So I'd love to be able to do that for somebody else. But that's not quite what we asked here, but that's, where it landed. So what about you, Joe? What about, how do you get on to other shows?
I don't.
You have to.
I have. Each time that I've been a guest, it's been them reaching out to me to guest on their show. And half of those have been patrons of ours saying, hey, will you come on my show? I'm like, all right. And so it really is, if you're willing to accept rejection, just ask. Like, even I was telling Charles and Kurt before the show started, my wife got asked to be a guest on a podcast earlier today. And so she's going to send him an email and see if she can work that out. So it's a podcast about homeschooling. So
a podcast about homeschooling.
Schooling.
Who would you reach out to have on your show? I mean, I don't know that any of us really do shows that are super open to guests, but
so one of my shows is
that's right. That's right. It did launch.
Yeah. And so I've got some very targeted people. Unsuccessful so far because they're just too big. And my audience isn't big enough. So
yeah. Joe?
We reached out to a few different people while we were doing the Pokemon Go podcast and had some success with that. And then we also had people reach out to us while we were on the Pokemon Go podcast, like Tara Sands reached out to us, and she came on. She's the voice of Bulbasaur. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. She was
at the live show with us at Dragon Con.
At Dragon Con, yep. Yeah. Which she didn't remember us because what she was doing at the time was just hopping on as many podcasts about Pokemon as she could.
I think as we got through the panel, it clicked with her of, oh yeah, these guys. But yeah, it was Digimon's 25th or 30th anniversary or something, and she was just panel after panel after panel after panel Digimon that year.
Pokemon, but yes.
No, don't
you remember what?
That wasn't the Pokemon year. I thought that was a Digimon year.
It was the Pokemon year.
We had
Why would we have?
We had her on because we did Pokemon Go podcast, and she did a voice for Pokemon. Yes. But I'm pretty sure for Dragon Con, it was a Digimon year, and she did voices for Digimon.
That's why she came on for
That's why
Dragon Con.
She came on. Yeah, when she came on because she did kind of remember us, and she said yes to our panel. But she was Kurt, for the love of me, can we get off this topic right now? Holy cow! What are we even talking about? We're talking about other people's shows.
If you have a message you would like to leave for the dads, go to wiseandnerdy.com/call-dad.
What's the next topic, Joe? Come on. Really? He just did a bad commercial. You didn't roll
bad dad jokes.
I have a bad dad joke. How do you get on other shows?
Oh my God.
So
look, to get to to meet my goal and your show, Joe. To meet my goal and your goal, Kurt, I have to get more present in front of people for them to approach me. I would love to take your route of people just asking me to be on shows, but the world doesn't know my name, to quote me, Hamilton. All right. So, Joe, what's the bad dad joke?
I have a confession. I rigged the rolling during this show. Okay. Specifically, so what order did the numbers come out in? Can you see? Can you see, Charles? Came out 1, 2, 5, 4. And this is just for you, Charles. Are you ready?
What do you mean it came out 1, 2, 5, 4?
The order that the numbers
1, 2, 4, 3, 5.
1, 2, 5, 4.
No, I'm looking at the list. 1, 2, 4, 3, 5.
What are those associated with on the left? 1, 2, 5, 4. Charles.
Anyway, you're not being specific.
I don't know what the heck you guys are talking about.
I don't either, Kurt.
I think I'm stroking out.
Either.
Oh, Charles.
Where is this? Oh,
are you so bad?
I see numbers now.
1, 2, 5, 4. 1254. What?
So no, I don't know. I got nothing.
Is this a 7, 8, 9 joke?
No. 1, 2, 5, 4. You sure do, Charles. You sure do count so poor. Oh, Charles.
That was a long way to go.
What do people drive on Sesame Street? Monster truck.
Let me enjoy the moment before you ruin it.
No.
You did it. You set up a really good joke. You paid it off with a sound clip, and now you're going to ruin it with one of my beloved Muppet shows.
Okay, so here's the thing I've learned about Joe. Joe, from a joke standpoint, Joe, you're picking great dad jokes. your timing sometimes is suspect.
I mean, you're not wrong.
This got dark fast. I feel like it got real intense. Why are you yelling
time
at Joe?
changed back in March, and there's no excuse.
Bad daddy.
All right, what's your
Okay.
joke, Joe?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You
Were
ruined
they-
it.
Were
Ruined
they
it.
driving on Sesame Street?
Monster trucks.
I don't think I ruined that. I don't think it has anything to do with me. So,
What does Cookie Monster use for money?
Council of Dads. We're moving on, baby. We're moving
Dope.
on.
Good daddy.
Thank you, Kurt. Council of Dads. All
Charles,
right, like you're frozen.
Charles, you
Kurt,
broke
you're not
him.
frozen. Yeah, I might have broken, but he's not frozen.
No. My favorite Sesame Street character is the vampire, but he doesn't count.
I can assure you that he does.
Well, on the note of counting things like money, as a council, where do we land on loaning money to family members or friends? And one of you two guys brought that one in, I think.
I sure did.
I
Was
did
it
not.
you, Joe?
You did.
Yeah.
Go for it.
My younger brother is really bad when it comes to money. And so recently he's been asking for money. And so I talked to my wife about it before I loaned him anything. And basically our conversation went, if you're not afraid to never see that money again, go ahead and loan it to him, is what it turned into. Now he did end up paying me back. But that, I think that's probably the best attitude to have when it comes to loaning friends and family money, is if you're not afraid to never see that money again, then yeah.
So, I think you're generally correct. I think that it's problematic. However, I think one of the things that we are terrible at when it comes to family and friends are laying down ground rules. And so I think, like, I am way more apt to loan money out to family and friends, and more friends than family, frankly.
Wink, wink. Come to patreon.com/wisenerd.
And loan us your money.
But when I've had to either get a loan from friends or loan money to friends, before money is exchanged, we say, okay, so how about you give me $100 a week or $50 a week, whatever is appropriate for the amount that you're loaning or being loaned. We come to that payment agreement first, so that everyone's on the same page. Because generally speaking, when you're dealing with family and friends, your desire often is, sure, how much do you need? And here you go, pay me back when you can, or when you get a chance, or whatever. And
what's your VIG on it?
No VIG.
Oh, come on.
No. Well, so I will say though, when my car bit the dust last year, my company loaned me the money to buy the new car. It is different. And there is a percentage rate associated with that.
Well, I mean, they could have done it without, but company versus friendship is a little different. But yeah,
it is.
That sounds like a good company, though.
Except my best friend is the owner of the company. So, yeah. So he wouldn't have done it otherwise, I don't think. But I think that really it's everybody being on the same page before money's exchanged, because that's when it gets weird, right? It just gets weird because you go, I don't want to bug you for it because I don't want to be, that guy. But if everybody's agreeing that you're paying money back every week, is if the friend or family goes, hey, I'm tight this week, I can't do it, but I'll pay you next week, is it okay to skip a week? That's your prerogative. you can say yes or no. You're probably going to say yes because you don't have much of a choice. But but you have, if you respect each other, you have those conversations.
Look, I'll sign your cast after. I'm gonna break your knee right now. No, I won't do it. I won't do it.
I understand that. I completely understand that. What's your favorite ice cream? Because I'm gonna punch you in the throat.
But when I was younger, bad with money, right? I'll just say that. I needed surgery on my knee. It's when I had severed the knee, the muscle in the knee, and I had okay insurance. I was gonna pay for most of it, but my copay was like $2,000 or something like that, $1,200. It was something that I'm already on 60% pay for short-term disability, and I was a poor EMT to start with, and I wasn't good with money. So I was like, oh my God. So I went to him. I said, hey, and it's proverbial hat in hand, shame, my grandfather, Navy guy, just man's man, loving. He always treated me kind, but tough guy, man's man. I hated having to ask him and show weakness. And I said, can I borrow the money and I'll pay you back? He goes, no, I don't loan money. I give money. I never, ever want to have that come between us for any reason. He told a longer story about how he'd loaned money one time to a friend and lost a friendship. And that's when he decided, if I have it, I'll just give it to you, which is similar to what you're talking about, Joe.
Yep.
But he refuses to let you pay it back. He said, no, because then that makes it a loan, and then it makes it a problem for me. I gave it to you because you're my friend. Cool. Later on in life, I learned from Bishop Jim Swilley and a few other people that I'd rather give a blessing, essentially, give a joyful moment to you. It's like, hey, no, I want to do this. And there's no talk of ever repaying it back. There's no anything. It's like literally my joy, my repayment is knowing I changed your life in a moment that you needed help. I got to do that this past Christmas. Somebody I work with just was having real hard time in life. And life is just throwing the knockout punches like Tyson, man. And all she could do was like, hey, my pipes burst and this, that. I was like, what do you need? And she goes, I don't know, just anything will help. And I happen to have just gotten a really good bonus at work. So I threw like a couple $100 her way. And it changed her life. And it's something I could do in the moment. And that's what I want to do now, to the point that I did some high performance coaching late last year, and I could not afford that. So I went to my friend and owner of the company that I work with and said, will you guys loan it to me? And technically we put down a loan on paper, but they gave it to me because they never want it back. The paper really is just a commitment to, I'm here. You're investing in me to invest back into the company. You're helping me help you. We're good together. And it was more of a symbolic thing. And when I sent it, Tracy called me up and said, wait, I'm confused. Because I was very specific about language, just in case anything, worst case scenario did happen, it would actually hold up and I would owe the money to a certain point. I put a lot of legal, yes, I will have to pay this amount. And she's, I'm confused. You paying this back? It's like, no, I'm not. And I was worst case scenario. She's okay, good. Well, one, I love that you thought about worst case scenario, even though we're all happy right now. But two, don't you take my blessing. I was doing this because it changes something in me to help you. And if I thought you were going to pay this back, I wouldn't do it. I'm like, no, I hear you all day long. And that's just where I live. And that's what we've taught our kids too, is one of their biggest joys at Christmas is to go to the community center and a few churches. They do these things called angel trees, where it's some version of kids in need, right? Sometimes his parents are in jail and this kid's in need, but it's kids who can't get, and they love just going in specific. They want a Harry Potter book, size 15 pants, and this toy. And within reason, you don't have to buy all of them, but you got to buy one of them. It's very specific. It's not just, some generic dollar store stuff. And my kids love to take their own money and they will go and do that. And it's really, that's just where I'm at. It's a great topic, but I will never loan money to anybody ever. It's just if I got it, I'll give it to you. You know? So, and that is how the three of us will never be invited to host a homeschool panel at a homeschool conference. That's the show, everybody. And a very bad dad joke to get us out of here. Here comes my favorite extra. Outro.
Follow these nerdy dads on social media. Charles at Rock God of Podcasting. Joe at Joseph_Ard. Check out the website, wiseandnerdy.com. And as always, they may not be your father, but they'll always be your daddy.
Shut up, Mike. And VO by Kurt everywhere at VO by Kurt.
Man, Rando Kid hears everything.
Join Patreon.com